Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to Arguments. This is the kind of our starting point for the critical thinking part of this class. As I said, before that this class is broken into two parts: online, or sorry, problem solving, which is the math, and then critical thinking, which is the writing. And this is the first part of the writing because understanding arguments and the basics of arguments allows for us to kind of explore the other areas as we build our way towards being able to assess arguments and analyze them, as well as look at credibility. So the first thing we have to kind of figure out is what an argument is. An argument is a piece of reasoning consisting of persuasive conclusion supported by one or more reasons. So what that means is that we are going to have an argument is something that somebody's trying to convince you of, whether that information is done through, and it's going to be done through with, like, you're going to have reasons why somebody should take your side on an issue, believe what you're saying, or support your idea. And a lot of times they're going to have to use what we call persuasive language in the conclusion. You should do something. You could do something. And then you have to have reasons to support it. Because if you don't have a conclusion without reasons, then it's not an argument. You're just presenting an opinion or an idea. You have to have things that are going to back up your conclusion or the statement you're trying, or the piece of information you're not trying to convince people of. So let's look at this example. We have the conclusion. So people who smoke should try to give it up. So right here, this word should, right here, is a piece of persuasive language. You're telling people that they should do something. And why should they do that? Well, smoking is expensive and it causes many serious illnesses. So here we have an example of, here we have reasons, the reasons why people should give up smoking. Well, because it costs a lot of money and people could get really sick from it. So those are the two reasons to support that. So that's why it's an argument. Here's my piece of information I'm trying to convince you of, and these are the reasons why. Now, if I just simply said people should try to give it up, or try to give up smoking, well, it's not really an argument because I'm not telling you why they should do it. Having that why there and answering that why is what makes it an argument. So what are things that are not arguments? Let's kind of clear this out of the way. The first thing is an opinion. So an opinion is a conclusion that is not supported by reason. So if I tell people that, hey, you should give up smoking and offer nothing else to support it, that's an opinion. If I have things to support, it becomes an argument. So for example, schools should not tell their students what they may wear to school. School uniforms should be abolished, and students should be free to wear whatever they want. So this is this example of something that seems like an argument. Look at all those pieces there. But all those lines are repeating each other. Schools should not tell their students what to wear. Okay? School uniforms should be abolished. Well, that's the same thing as telling students what to wear. And students should be free to wear whatever they want. Again, we're just repeating the same idea. So this is just an opinion. We never get to a reason to support that conclusion. You're just repeating the conclusion over and over again. The next thing that is not an argument is a description. A description states what is the case, but does not explain why and does not try to persuade. For example, football is a sport played by 22 individuals. The winner is the team that scores the most points. I'm not trying to convince you that it's played by 22 individuals. That is actual information. And the winner of the team is the one that has the most points. Again, I'm not trying to convince you that's why that person won. I'm telling you that they had more points. Therefore, they're the ones that are considered the winner. That's just a description. You're just describing what football is. The next thing is this idea of a narrative. A narrative tells what happened. You're basically just giving information. Billy really enjoyed his weekend. He went to the movies with his friends, visited his cousins, and got some time to swim in the pool. Now, it seems like they're trying to convince you that Billy really enjoyed his weekend, and they're giving you things to support that. Movies, hanging out with his cousins, and swimming in the pool. But it's not saying that. They're not trying to convince you that Billy had a really good weekend. They're saying, like, hey, Billy had a good weekend. That's what happened. And these are the things that that were part of that. So again, we're not trying to convince you that Billy had a good reason, and that's where the argument comes in. You're trying to convince somebody of something, and then you're providing support for convincing. Finally, explanation. An explanation does not seek to persuade. It gives reasons why a situation is as it is. So for example, Emily's grandmother loves her dearly, so she has given her money to help pay for school. We're not trying to convince you that Emily's grandmother loves her dearly, and we're not trying to convince you as to why she has given her money to help pay for school. We're just explaining the situation. Oh, Emily's grandmother gave her money for school. Yeah, she really loves her and wants to help her out. Again, it's not an argument. We're not trying to convince you. We're not trying to give you the same opinion. This is just simply stating what is going on. Now let's look at these three examples and whether or not they are arguments. The train is due to leave at 8 a.m., but it is sometimes early, so we had better aim to reach the station by 7:50 a.m. Now, when we look at this, they are trying to convince you that you should reach the station by 7:50, and they give reasons for that. That while it is due to leave at 8 a.m., it's sometimes early. So they're giving you a reason as to why. So the first one, yes, it is indeed an argument because they're trying to convince you that you should reach the station by 7:50. Now, the next one, the government should take action to reduce the number of road accidents in our country. Now, we look at this. It does have persuasive language in there. They are telling you that you should do something, but they don't give any reasons to why. So that's just an opinion. And the last one, Lena forgot to make a note of her homework, and so she failed to turn it in on time. This is just an explanation. They're not trying to convince you that she failed to turn it in on time. It's just explaining that she didn't turn it in on time because of this note. So here we have examples of things that potentially sound like argument, and two of them are not actually arguments. Now, when we look at conclusions and reasons, the conclusion of an argument consists of what the author is trying to persuade a reader to do or believe. The reasons of an argument, those other pieces of information, aims the reader to accept the conclusion. It is there to persuade you to accept this information. When an argument includes more than one reason, they may support the conclusion separately or together. Now, this is what we call we have a combined reasons. So, if two reasons act separately, the second strengthens the first, but either could work alone. So essentially, if you eliminate one of the reasons, you could still understand the argument. For example, it is not fair to expect Peter to look after his grandchildren. He has no experience of caring for children and cannot hear very well. Now, you have two reasons here. He has no experience and he cannot hear very well. But if you just took it separately, say for example, we just took cannot hear very well, that is more than enough information to say to back up the idea that Peter should not look after his children. That's enough information for that. Now let's look at the second one. Penn will have to rethink his plans for higher education. The university he hoped to go to requires high grades, but his exam results were lower than expected. So the conclusion is that he will have to rethink his plans for higher education. That purple does not work well. We'll have to rethink his plans for higher education. The first reason is the university he hoped to go to requires high grades. That alone is not enough. You need more information there. There's not information there to convince you that he'll have to rethink plans for higher education. Now, you're going to assume that he doesn't have those grades, but we don't know that yet. When you get that second part, his exam results were lower than expected. So you have to have both of them together in order for that conclusion to work. The two reasons support the conclusion together, but not separately. You can see how if you just have one reason or the other, they don't support the conclusion. Unlike the example before that supported the conclusion separately. So when we look at this idea of how do we determine what part is the conclusion and what part is the reason? you're going to get arguments that are going to be longer and complicated, and you're going to get arguments with 5 or 6 sentences, multiple paragraphs. And when you read them, you're going to sit there and actually wonder, what are they trying to convince you of here? So we start to try to figure out, okay, what are the things that help us know or indicate that something is a conclusion or that something is a reason? We use the words therefore and because. If you present a reason and then use the word therefore and then have information after that, that information after that is going to be a conclusion. So therefore becomes very useful. It helps us know that the information after this is a conclusion. Now, if we start off with a conclusion and we throw the word because in there, the information after that's going to be the reason. Hey, I think you should believe this because, and then I give you stuff to support that. Where the other way around, hey, you should, hey, these are things that, we're going to convince you of, therefore you should believe this. So that's how that relationship works with therefore and because. Therefore is going to be before conclusion, because it's going to be there for a reason. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen all the time. There are many, many indicator words, but these are ones that you can quickly identify or use to kind of insert in case there isn't a indicator word there. So let's look at an example. Liz should work hard at school because she wants to go to university. Liz wants to go to university, therefore she should work hard at school. So the idea is that we're trying to convince you that Liz should work hard at school. That is the conclusion. This blue, this, and this, sorry, those lines aren't going to be straight, are the conclusion. I'm not crossing that out. So when we see the word because it's letting you know that the information after it is actually kind of reinforcing that idea. It's supporting it. That's what reasons do. They support the conclusion. In the bottom, you have the reason. You have the reason or the support first. Hey, Liz wants to go to university. Therefore, this is what she should do. Indicator words. Some words mean roughly the same thing. For example, so is equivalent to therefore. As and since can be used the same way as because. If the connecting words are not present, you can insert them. Liz should work hard at school. She wants to go to university. Now, if we insert them, you can see how they connect. These work and sound correct. Liv should work hard at school because she wants to go to university. She wants to go to university, therefore Liv should work hard at school. Now, if you reverse it, Liv should work hard at school, therefore she wants to go to university. When you hear that sentence, that structure, just doesn't sound right because it's not correct. Same thing with adding in because in front of a conclusion. She wants to go to university because Liv should work hard at school. Once again, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Now, 3 sentences. The college car park is overcrowded, so we need to introduce a system of parking permits. The dog has many paws, therefore you should give the dog a bath. The weather is very warm today, therefore you should put on a warm coat. And here we're looking at how you identify the conclusions of these sentences. I'm trying to convince you that we need to introduce a system of parking permits. How are we going to do that? The college car park is overcrowded. So the college car park, this bit of information right here, is the reason that we need to introduce a system of parking permits. You're trying to convince, in the second one, we're trying to convince somebody to give the dog a bath. Why should we give them a dog a bath? Well, he has muddy paws. Once again, we're trying to convince you that they have muddy paws, or we're trying to convince you to give them a bath. And finally, last thing is you should put on a warm coat. That being the conclusion and the reason to support that, the weather is very cold today. Right here is a list of indicators and reason indicators and conclusion indicators. As I provide this PowerPoint online, you can reference back to it and look it over. I'm not going to read through every single one of them, but these may show up in the context of the arguments. They might not always be there, but sometimes they'll show up there and be in the argument. Again, if you have any questions, please send me an email so I can, or if you have any questions, hit me on Remind, send me an email so I can discuss this with you a little bit further. If you have any problems with the assignment, please let me know. If not, have a great day.